Hello everybody and welcome back to a brand new video. We just hit 39,100 subscribers. Let's get to 40,000. Please like this video down below and subscribe to the channel. But before we get started, I have to tell you about my friends over at my Patriot Supply. As Americans, we need to be prepared and we need to stay prepared. And that starts with skipping the long lines at the grocery store by stocking up on disaster food supply. And there is no better disaster food kit than the ones over at American-made My Patriot Supply. Take action so you're ready for what's coming and save up to $100 on a 4-week emergency food kit when you go to my special website, preparewithredeagle.com. And doesn't that food look good? You're going to love the disasters if you prepare with Red Eagle at preparewithredeagle.com. That is preparewithredeagle.com. And a lot of people have been asking me to update my electoral map for the presidential election. Well, the good news is today is the day. They are going to get that wish today. And we are going to start and fill this map out, and we're going to see who's going to be able to win, Donald Trump, or is it going to be Joe Biden? So without further ado, let's get started. So we're going to start off by filling out the safe states. We're going to start off by filling out, I think we're going to start with the safe blue states. We're going to start off with the safe blue states. California, Oregon, Washington, Hawaii, no surprise there. That's it for the West Coast. Illinois is the really only bastion that's safe blue in Middle America. Then you have New York State, you have Connecticut, Rhode Island for now, Vermont, Massachusetts, New Jersey, Delaware, Maryland, and the District of Columbia, as well as Maine's 1st District will be safe for the Democrats. As for the Republicans, you're going to see Utah, Wyoming, Idaho, Montana, the Dakotas, all of Nebraska, save the 2nd District, Kansas, Oklahoma, Arkansas, Louisiana, Mississippi, Alabama, Tennessee, Kentucky, West Virginia, Indiana, South Carolina, and the state of Missouri, and we can't forget the state of Alaska. And now it's time that we go and we fill out the states that are going to be in the respective likely column. So right now it's 183 for the Dems, 125 for Republicans, but the good news here is most of these states went Republican in 2016, and most of these states are probably going to go Republican in 2020, even if it's going to be a very close election. So don't let the initial details fool you, especially Trump being an incumbent is going to help him a lot in terms of filling in this map in terms of the swing states. And I wouldn't be as enthusiastic in terms of a Trump victory if it wasn't for the signs that we have of an economic recovery, which is actually what's happening, which is what I talked about in my last video. But now it's time we're going to fill out the states in the likely column. We're going to start off with the Democrat states because we did the Democrat states first. Colorado is a big one. You talk about Colorado, that's going to go in the likely column more likely than not. I mean, Trump could get it within 5. I can't see him winning it. I also can't see Biden generating enough enthusiasm to win it by over 10, especially with a lot of the Bernie bros there in the primary. Big numbers, by the way. The state of New Mexico as well. Donald Trump could improve in New Mexico based off trends, based off things like, if he improves a little bit with the Hispanic population, he'll get it a little bit closer, and that really entails bringing home a lot of the vote in 2016 that went for Gary Johnson, but still it probably is not going to go into Donald Trump's column. It probably will stay Democrat by over 5%, but it should be a little bit contested. Maybe Trump could try to spend some money there, see what happens in the internal polling. If it doesn't work, pull out while you still have time, put energy on more worthy states. Also, we cannot forget the state of Virginia. That is probably going to be likely blue. Once a red bastion of the electorate has now become a Democrat stronghold. The state of Virginia has not voted Republican since 2004, partially due to trends in education as well as immigration flipping the state blue. And Donald Trump probably will lose by 5 to 10. Again, Joe Biden is part of the establishment, and you have D.C. D.C. is that big hand that holds the state in terms of the power. All that Metro D.C., the Arlington, the Fairfax, the Loudoun County area, all that stuff. So that's gonna be a big benefit to Joe Biden. But now we have to fill out the states that are going to be in the likely Republican column. We can start with Ohio. Ohio will be likely, if not safe. And in fact, I don't think it's not going to be safe basically any time after this election. I think it's going to be a solid Republican state. Even if Biden wins in a landslide this cycle, Ohio still probably would stay with Donald Trump. The state of Iowa is another state that I think will go in the likely column for Trump, if not safe. Again, we'll have to analyze the polling. A lot of the early polls out of Ohio and Iowa are just absolutely downright abysmal, so I wouldn't put too much stock into them. Maine 2nd District's another one. Possibly could be safe. It was safe last time, but for right now, we're going to have to put it in the likely column. We'll see if there's any movement back into the Democrat column. I really don't think there will be, but we'll keep it in the likely for now. And the last likely state for the Republicans, we're going to go with Texas. A lot of polling, even in my aggregate, is showing it could be close, within 5. I don't see it. I don't buy it. There's no real evidence of signs of a surge of Hispanic turnout. What we see in the primary really indicates, if anything, there will be a surge of suburban turnout. I'm not sure that Biden is going to generate a whole lot of enthusiasm there in the general election. I still think that the state of Texas is going to stay with Trump by probably 5 to 7 points. We're going to put that in the likely column. Then we could talk about maybe 2024. It gets closer. 2028, the Democrats could try to flip it. And if that's the case, we could be preparing for a civil war at that point, because hell would freeze over if conservative America would be left to die out in such a divided country. But now we have to do the lean Democrat states. I think a good place to start for that. I think that we have 2 of them. Nevada. Nevada will probably lean in the Democrat column, if not tilt. It could be close. A lot of people are going to underrate Nevada in terms of being a competitive state, but it very well could be a competitive state. I think Trump should make a run for Nevada because there is a possibility that it does flip. It was a very heavy state for Bernie in the primary, and what it showed is that Donald Trump and the midterms had actually voted to the right of the country by 3 or 4 percentage points, I think, in the House and as well as the Senate and governor's races. So it's very possible that Nevada can flip Republican, especially if Trump plays his cards right in the state, improves things like his margin among Latinos, improves his margin among blue-collar whites and things like that. It's very possible, but for right now, I still think it's going to stay with the Dems, maybe by about a couple percentage points or so. It's going to be very close, closer to tilt than likely, but we're going to put it in the lean column. As for the other state here, we're going to put Maine at large. I think Maine at large is going to be a state that's going to lean in the Democratic column. Maybe after this, Republicans can win Maine, win New Hampshire safe if they're able to run the right candidates. But for right now, we're going to put it in the lean D column for right now. So now it's time that we do the lean Republican states, and there's a few of them. And actually, all of them are in the southeast here. We can start off with North Carolina. Even in the early polling, if you look at the aggregate on my website, RedEaglePolitics.com, it's showing that Donald Trump is actually up by a likely margin. Personally, I think that that's not entirely accurate. I think Donald Trump, however, is going to win the state by 3 or 4. I think most people understand that North Carolina really isn't flippable, and Hillary spent all of her time trying to flip it back in 2016, and she still lost by almost 4 percentage points, and I could see a very similar thing here with Joe Biden with the state of North Carolina. We're going to leave that in the lean Republican column. A similar thing with Georgia. Georgia's a state that's moving to the left, but I really don't see it flipping this time around. It doesn't even matter if Stacey Abrams manages to fit her way onto the ticket somehow, but I still think that it will be in the lean Republican column. I think Trump is going to win it by around 4 or 5 points. Some of the early polling we saw had it even a greater margin than that, but I think that will narrow in terms of turnout by the end of the day. I think that Georgia will stay in the lean column, but it's not going to flip this time around, and it could in the future. People talk about Georgia being this cycle's Virginia, and there's some truth to that. In the future, it's going to be voting to the left and the left and the left, but right now we're going to have to put it in the lean red column. So for the state of Florida, we're also going to put it in the lean Republican column. They love incumbents there. It's always a close state, but Donald Trump being an incumbent president, being from the state now, it's his home state, and the big Republican turnout in the midterms, as well as for the Republican primary when there really wasn't a need to turn out, really showcases the fact that I think Florida is fired up for Donald Trump, and Ron DeSantis is a very popular governor there. Some say his approval rating slipped a little bit. It's on the up and up again. So I think Florida is going to lean into Donald Trump's column. And now we have to fill out the tilt states and the toss-up states. So for the tilt Democrat states, I think we're going to start with the state of Minnesota. Now, Trump can win Minnesota. I think it's very possible. And at the end of the day, he might actually be able to win Minnesota. But as of right now, I still think that there's a little bit of skepticism to be had. Trump's riot response wasn't exactly as perfect as it could be. And it depends if this stuff goes on, if they keep playing identity politics. And if they disband the police force in Minneapolis, then I think the state will flip. But as of right now, that's not entirely confirmed to be happening. We're going to put that in the tilt Democrat column. New Hampshire, I believe this is going to be a state that's going to tilt in the Republican column. It's been trending to the right, as we know. There's a very popular Republican governor there, and Chris Sununu. That's going to help Donald Trump. You're starting to see an economic recovery. These are some of the states that improved in Trump's column back in 2016 because of economic purposes. Well, you're seeing a little bit of an economic recovery that's going to help him out too. Similar thing with Pennsylvania, so-called Biden's home state. I think he's going to take the L in Pennsylvania. I really do believe that Western Pennsylvania is going to come out for Donald Trump again if you look at some of the primary turnout data, as well as the registration data. The only reason why Democrats really won is because there was a lot of registered Democrats there. That's why Tulsi Gabbard ended up getting like 50,000 votes in the primary, basically because those were registered Democrats that are going to vote for Trump, but they just flipped the middle finger on the ballot because they had to fill out a ballot. So that's it for the state of Pennsylvania. So Trump's already at 270. We're going to fill out the state of Wisconsin. Wisconsin is, again, another state I think will tilt into Trump's column. It was one of the states in the midterms that wasn't too bad for Republicans, and they actually held that Supreme Court seat back in 2019. Can't really make the argument for 2020's Supreme Court loss being a big deal for the Democrats because they had their primary the same day, and Bernie Sanders strategically chose not to drop out until after the Wisconsin primary because he knew that with his voters turning out, they would have been able to flip that Supreme Court seat in that regard. Nebraska's second is another state, or another district in this case, that would tilt in Donald Trump's column. He won it last time by a couple, but it actually showed signs of improving the margins in the 2018 midterms. So if anything, we could actually push that into the lean red column for that one. So right now we have it 283 to 228. We're going to go through the last two states here, the toss-up states of Michigan and Arizona, and these could go either way. And I'll tell you why I think they can go for Trump is that Michigan, I still think that the trends will persist. I think that if you look at Michigan, it's going to go down the wire. The rural areas are fired up for Trump. You really can't drive throughout this state without seeing a bunch of Donald Trump signs. And that, I think, is going to push him over the top. You had a lot of voters that didn't vote in the midterms in Michigan on the Republican side, despite the fact that the establishment in Oakland County and Washtenaw County and Ingham County were very fired up during the midterms. So I think that Michigan will probably stay with Trump, but the data that we have right now from the polling, we have to put it into Trump's column because the data that we have from it is technically showing a clear tie in a toss-up when you go to my website. The one poll we were able to weight properly showed it. As for the state of Arizona, we don't have really any data on my website about Arizona. There were some early polls there, but they weren't really weightable, so I don't really know if I'm able to trust them. I still think Arizona could go either way, and it'll be a Democrat state in the future, but this cycle is a chance for Trump to have his last stand in Arizona. And if he wins the state of Arizona, this would make it a 310 to 228 election. But for the sake of the toss-ups here, we're going to leave it at 283 to 228. With 27 up for grabs. Donald Trump will more likely than not beat Joe Biden, the man who has no idea where he is at any given time. So anyways, guys, thanks for watching this video. Please like this video down below, comment down below, and subscribe to my channel. Hit the bell for notifications so you never miss another video. Follow me on social media. Join the Discord and subreddit. Donate to the Patreon or subscribe. Star links in description. As always, guys, thanks for watching. Red Eagle, out.